So speedrunning Minecraft is something that only a small percentage of the community can actually achieve, and it not only takes luck, but a lot of skill. And I want to be a part of that percentage too. And so over the past year, I've made it my goal to become a Minecraft speedrunner, aka unemployment. So anyway, over a year ago I started my speedrunning journey, specifically on March 6th, 2024. And back then I honestly had no clue of any speedrunning strats, and also had the Minecraft skills of a toddler. Don't worry, I'm better at the game now. And now cutting back to the present, I'm not only able to hit 0 cycles, but also get runs in under 30 minutes. Now of course I didn't just gain these skills overnight, but instead went through multiple months or even years of blood, sweat, and tears. But there's still so many things y'all probably don't know about, such as the absurd amount of failures I went through, or even just the correct mods I had to install. And today, I want to go through that story. And so with that, let's start from the very beginning. The date was March 6, 2024, when I came across this video on a Minecraft education speedrun. Now at the time I hadn't had Java edition and could only download Minecraft Education, and so that's what I did. I downloaded Minecraft Education, set everything up, and before I knew it, I was speedrunning the seed for myself, putting in hours to get a run I was proud of, and eventually I achieved the final time of 27 minutes. And while this may sound good on paper, it was obviously a set seed and also memorized, but I took it as a W nonetheless, and so I uploaded it on YouTube as a checkpoint of my progress. And this really ignited my passion to speedrun, because at the time I thought it'd be so much aura just to be able to speedrun Minecraft. And as of 2 months later, I was able to achieve this. A 2 minute and 30 second nether enter on Java edition on 1.20.6? I don't even know. But regardless, it was still progression. And soon on a night of 2024, I had downloaded the speedrun timer after watching RecRap use it in his videos. And from Rec, I learned a plethora of techniques and information. For instance, at the time I didn't know what the best version for speedrunning was, and finally swapped from 1.20.6 to 1.16.5? I don't know, I was really lost. And finally, after a month of tweaking with settings and game versions, I finally made it to 1.16.1. And this is where my real journey began. By the way, I want y'all to watch this clip and see what I'm doing.
Oh my god, bro. Oh, hell no. Kill yourself.
I'm literally giving myself night vision in a speedrun. That's cheating. So to counter this issue, speedrunners have discovered a solution to this: Gamma. And if you didn't know, you can basically get free night vision in 1.16.1. You can do this by simply going into your Minecraft folder, then your options.txt, and simply changing your Gamma to 5. And this changes the nether from looking like this to this. And this vastly improved my paces, because now I didn't have to input a command every time I loaded into a world. And this not only improved nether visibility, but also made oceans basically see-through. For instance, take a look at the screen and name what you can see. You can probably see a shipwreck, but I bet you didn't see the other shipwreck in the top left. And this is what it looks like with Gamma, by the way. It's so much clearer. And this was the moment my run started improving, where I was able to spot bastions and fortresses without the sky looking like hot Cheetos. But now I had another issue. How can I find a structure when I can't see it, aka when I have an ass spawn? Well, this is where more advanced strategies come in, aka the F3 screen. And here on this abomination of a UI, you can see an E followed by 2 numbers. And the 2 numbers are as follows. The one on the left being how many entities are in our current field of view, and the one following is how many are in our loaded area. And simply by shrinking our field of vision, we can minimize the amount of mobs that are on our screen, aka the first number. And by simply turning around, we can spot spikes in the first number. And basically, if you see a large spike, that means there's probably a structure, aka a bastion or a fortress. And by using this technique, I was able to pinpoint a bastion, even when I had a diabolical spawn like this. And yes, by the way, you have to memorize every route for every bastion to maximize efficiency. For example, on this bastion, I can do a route called Donkey Kong, where I grab all the gold from the chalice, go over here, bridge up a few blocks, connect this whilst making sure there's no lava, go over here, break a block, and do this and do that and do this and do that. Now, bastions were much harder than I thought they'd be, mostly because of the amount of close calls you have to make to ensure that you get enough piglins for trading, or even the RNG involved in stables bastions. Take this for example, I have to break a block a split second before piglins fall in and kill me. Or maybe this scenario where you have pigs and hoglins chasing you down from every single angle. But eventually I started to improve, being able to both route the bastion and survive. And in the end, I was able to obtain my ender pearls perfectly fine. But now of course there is the fortress, one of the most important structures in speedrunning, being the only structure where you can obtain blaze rods. Now fortresses were probably thought to be easy, and honestly I thought that too, but most of the time I just started dying over and over, losing run after run, just to blazes and wither skeletons alone. And there was additionally another issue of blazes not spawning when I wanted them to spawn. I knew I was doing something wrong, but I didn't know what. But then it hit me. The main reason I was dying was because I was lost in the fortress, causing me to encounter way more mobs than usual. But there's a strategy to counter this, and it is to simply find this lava thing, and then simply go in this direction and then boom, you're outside, which is where blaze spawners spawn. But then this is where things took a turn. The blazes when I got there just weren't spawning, and this took off minute after minute on so many of my runs, and got to the point where I just decided to doom scroll. But nah, this was grueling as hell, and so I did some research, and according to online sources, more space equals more mobs from spawners. And so if more space equals more mobs from spawners, then take this for example. This spawner is pretty enclosed. So speedrunners have found tactics to increase the spawning area in little to no time. Now of course you can just use a pickaxe to mine the ground below, but this just takes way too long. So instead we can use this tactic called a blaze bed, and I'll show you how to do this in two ways. The first way utilizes one bed, where you place a nether brick on top of the spawner, 2 blocks here, and then place a bed horizontally like this. Now stand behind the blocks and not in front of it like this dumbass, and just look at the difference, bro.
I used to have hoop dreams until I found out there were other ways to score.
And over the span of the next few months, I had gained so much more knowledge and experience, such as desert temple strats or even how to make an underwater magma ravine portal. Oh, and by the way, I ended up speedrunning a desert superflat world until I realized the hard way that it's low-key impossible. And also I found a cool little trick that I want to share with y'all, and it's how to find a buried treasure without the map. And this was by far one of the most efficient strategies I've ever learned in speedrunning. Now you may be wondering how that's even possible, but just hear me out. So basically by using the pie chart, we can actually spot out any block entities on our screen. You can do this by simply going to these words on the pie chart: game renderer, level, and finally entities. And now what you'll do is turn your render distance down to like 3 or 4 and start to spin around while also spamming the pie chart. Now what you should look for are spikes in this orange part, which will indicate that there is a chest on your screen. And in this case usually a BT, but judging from experience it can be also one of these things, or it could be a shipwreck. In that case it's like a win-win situation. Side note, you should only do this on beaches or islands because that's the only place where buried treasures can spawn, although that should already be common sense. And so anyway, by applying this strategy I was able to do this, which if you asked me 4 months ago I would have said I was cheating. And as the weeks went on, my mechanics were showing to be improving. I mean, you can just see the difference, bro. And additionally, I even entered the nether at times around 2 minutes and leaving the nether with everything around 16 to 17 minutes. Well, now let's say you have your ender eyes. How do you find the stronghold? Well, this is where more knowledge of the game comes in. And to put it simply, strongholds can generate within certain rings around spawn. This can be displayed by this image, by the way. For example, in the first ring, 3 strongholds will generate randomly. So anyway, by simply throwing an ender eye, we know which direction to run to reach the closest stronghold. But how do you do this within minutes? It usually takes like 20 minutes to even run like 1,000 blocks, if you get sidetracked along the way like me. Well, speedrunners have come up with a cool little trick to get you to the stronghold much faster. So you see, when you leave the nether, chances are you're probably not even close to the stronghold. So what some actual geniuses found out is that you can find the stronghold with math. Or in this case, trigonometry. Oh god, no, it's math. So basically how you approximate the location of the stronghold is that you create a massive triangle with your eye throws. Then you use the difference between those 2 angles to make an educated guess on how far the stronghold is. Now you may be a little confused, but just stay with me now. And anyway, how you do this is you first turn on chunk borders, navigate to the corner of the chunk you're at, tower up, and throw your first eye. Now to ensure that your measurements are absolutely perfect, you need to go to 30 to 31 FOV, depending on your screen. And after that, you need to change your sensitivity all the way down. This will ensure that you're able to get perfect measurements. Now align your crosshair to be pixel perfect in between these 2 pixels, and next open your F3 screen. Now note down this number in chat. This is the angle of your first eye throw. Now turn 90 degrees and go about a chunk over and do the same thing, making sure to be pixel perfect and making sure to note down this angle once again. So now what you have are two numbers in chat, and we can actually use these numbers to make an educated guess of the distance we are from the stronghold. We do this by getting the difference between these two numbers, and by using this new number, we'll know where the stronghold is in the horizon. Now of course I haven't come up with the math to do this, but the geniuses once again have blessed us with this table. And this table basically shows what distances correspond to the angle change in your eye throws. For example, having a 1 degree angle change means that you're 1000 blocks away from the stronghold, and a 0.5 degree angle change means that you're 2000 blocks away from the stronghold. Additionally, there's a faster way you can actually get to the stronghold even if it's 2000 blocks away, and you can do this by utilizing the nether. See, for every block traveled in the nether is the equivalent to 8 blocks traveled in the overworld. Some of y'all probably already knew that, but anyways. And this means that we can get to the stronghold coordinates 8 times faster if we use the nether. So that means we can go into the nether, travel the distance which is 8 times smaller, and build another portal to be much closer. But this also comes at a cost, because it requires you to at least have 10 more obsidian to build your other portal. But apart from that, this was low-key a time saver, allowing me to travel over 1000 blocks in little to no time. But then this is where my main issue arose. Directions. So you see, entering the end isn't all that simple, because you not only have to get enderized, but then now you have to route your way through the stronghold, and from my experience this was one of the worst things that I've ever gone through in terms of speedrunning. And this may sound simple, but no, this problem lasted with me for the longest time and took on average 20 to 30 minutes to even just find the portal room. And this is probably due to the fact that my sense of direction is absolutely ass. Dude, never get me to a maze in real life. And so anyway, I did some research, and eventually I found this new strategy that speedrunners have come up with. So to find the portal room, speedrunners will lower their render distance down to around 8 and use the pie chart. But this just didn't work for me, and every time I would execute it accordingly but just run into a library or a mine shaft. Maybe I was unlucky, or maybe I was like doing something wrong, I didn't even know. Then at that point forward, it honestly just take me another 15 minutes to find the portal room, let alone beat the ender dragon. I knew this was a massive time loss, but I didn't know what I was doing wrong about it, and even just kept rewatching tutorials until I learned this trick recently. Well, actually I'm low-key just kinda stupid because I missed it in the video I watched, but basically you also need to turn down your entity distance as well as your render distance. This will ensure that your pie chart doesn't pick up on any nearby mine shafts or dungeons. And by using this tactic, I was able to find the portal room in little to no time. But now comes the end fight, the final step in beating the game, consisting of beating the ender dragon. But the thing is, how can I kill the dragon swiftly? I mean, of course you can just shoot down all the crystals, but what if I told you you don't need to do all that? So if you didn't know, you can simply kill the ender dragon with a few beds. Yeah, with a few mattresses. So anyway, what I learned is to make this setup and simply wait for the dragon to perch. This is also known as one cycling and is one of the fastest ways to kill the ender dragon. But now you may be watching this clip and be wondering, why would you use beds? These do like no damage. Well, the thing is, to successfully pull off a one cycle, you need to have perfect timing. So you see, by turning on hitboxes using F3 and B, you can see that the dragon has two hitboxes on its head, a bigger hitbox and a smaller hitbox. And this smaller hitbox is what you want the beds to explode by when one cycling. Oh, and also I learned that when the dragon does a flick like this, that's when you know the dragon is perching. And by implementing all this knowledge, I was slowly improving, from a 7-bed one cycle to even eventually only 4. Progress was showing, but I still needed to hit one in an actual run. And I kept going, trying to improve at least one thing per speedrun session. For example, take a look at this. I got on fire even though I didn't even touch the wall. Was this a bug? Was this evidence of Herobrine? Well, as it turns out, no, and this only happened because I decided to choose soul sand. Now what's so bad about soul sand? Well, it's because soul sand is actually a little shorter than an actual block, but that's okay because we love short kings. Okay, but for real, this means that when you bridge across lava with it, you'll catch on fire because you're not actually a block above the lava. At least if you bridge like this, but if you bridge like this, you should be fine. I learned multitudes of things like this, just gaining little mistakes every time from every single run. And my mental was at an all-time high. At least until around 2 weeks later, and this is what I'd like to call the dark times of speedrunning. Now during this period from May to August 2025, I could just never find myself getting any completions, always dying in ways I didn't even think were possible. And this was all due to one main issue, and it's that I'm low-key just kinda stupid. Nah, but for real, even though I could gather my resources and enter the nether perfectly fine, I just found myself dying over and over due to having a skill issue. But this is where I adapted a new mindset, one that allowed me to even get this far. And if I were me a few months back, I would have lost all motivation, but surprisingly I gained this new mental state that these failures are really just stepping stones to reach the final goal, or in this case a sub 30. And additionally, I didn't crash out to these little mistakes and just kept learning tiny bits of knowledge with every death, just like the soul sand incident. And during this time period, I learned that just like in real life, mistakes are guaranteed to happen, and all I can do is learn from them and improve. I had to become fearless towards failure, and if I didn't, I wouldn't make any progress. And to achieve that success, it's mandatory to go through a plethora of failures first. Now maybe this is because I watched RecRap and adopted his mindset, but it worked, and because of my endurance, I managed to die much less, mostly just ending runs because of my god-awful RNG. And I knew that it was only a matter of time before this happened. It was an island seed, a type of seed I had played hundreds of. And after realizing there was no buried treasure, I turned to the oceans. And then I saw it, a shipwreck. I started to craft my essentials. To me at this point was muscle memory. From the shipwreck, I gathered all the iron I needed. And heading back to the oceans, I searched for a magma ravine, stopping by a ruined portal along the way. And while Trident Guy rage baited me once again, I got God Loot. Entering the nether at around 3 minutes, this was one of my fastest paces yet. And judging by the E number, I was not hopeful there was a bastion nearby, but I went to search for it anyways. I saw a 20 spike. It may not be much, but I had nothing to lose. And when I was about to give up, I saw 130 next to my E number. I had to go for it. And sure enough, it was a stables bastion, one of the hardest bastions I had learned so far. I started to route the bastion at the 6-minute mark, on pace to be a sub 30 run. Using the pie chart, I knew there was a fortress nearby. And at the 8:40 mark, I had achieved all my ender pearls, but this is where something catastrophic happens. Out of all the trades, I had gotten no string, meaning I could make no beds for the 1 cycle. Nonetheless, I continued to the fortress. I spotted the blaze spawner, and the timer read 10 minutes. I knew this was my fastest pace yet. And in the middle of farming blaze rods, I came to that realization in real time. In a desperate act, I rushed back to the bastion, hoping I just forgot to pick up the string. I went back to the piglins to only confirm that no string had been traded. And though this has never happened to me before, I ended up blinding anyways, hoping I would find a village or maybe some sheep along the way. I crafted my ender eyes at the 17-minute mark, and started to measure my eyes. The angle change was 0.9, meaning I was about 1,000 blocks away. And with no obsidian to spare, for blind traveling I was forced to get there via the overworld. And with only 4 pearls remaining, any mess ups could possibly cost me pearls in the end, or even ender eyes. I had to play it smart. The eye changed directions, meaning I passed the stronghold. It went down, 24 minutes, the fastest I'd ever found the stronghold in my whole journey. Now it's time for the E-ray, the thing I'd struggled at the most, but after hours of practice, I was sure. Well, kind of. And soon enough, I found it. I looked at the timer, 26 minutes. Is this it? Is this my sub 30 run? This is what kept running through my mind, but I couldn't get distracted. This is what the whole journey had been leading up to. Entering the end at the 27-minute mark, I could feel the nerves getting to me. Although I usually feel doubtful, this time was different. I had 6 beds, and for my hours of practice this was plenty, but in situations like this, it can be too little. As the dragon continued to stall, I could feel the time slipping away, and I even doubted that this run would even cut it. And as I was starting to lose all hope, the dragon flipped. Oh, and by the way, my mic wasn't turned on. And anyway, this seed was exactly what I wanted. It wasn't lucky at all, and it was also pretty interesting. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, subscribe!